Pain heals. Chicks dig scars. Glory lasts forever.
Welcome back to the channel. Oh my goodness, I don't know if I can take it. Thank you so much for being here. Hope you're having a fantastic day. Shout out to the 19. We are going to have ourselves a little, this isn't even a post game, folks. This is just a little bit of a Philly rant about the Indiana Fever and their performance today. As you know, because I'm sure you watched, it was trash. It was trash from top to bottom. It was trash all the way around. It was trash led by a coach who needs to get fired. Yes, I said it. Like I said, this game brings out the Philly in me because I promise you, sports fans, New York would do the same thing. They would be calling for the end of the coach's regime after a game like this. This is a team that was completely unprepared. There was no offensive game plan. There was no defensive game plan. The effort by almost everyone other than Dantas, Michaela Timpson, and Caitlin Clark was beyond subpar. Natasha Trash Howard, not Flash, Trash Howard needs to go. I'm glad she didn't play a lot in the second half. I will say, since I'm going to absolutely trash Stephanie White, the one thing I will give her is that Michaela Timpson played more than Natasha Howard, and that needs to continue. Get rid of Natasha Howard before the trade deadline is over. She does not fit on this team with Caitlin Clark. She does not try. I saw her get blown away multiple times on defense because she made no effort. Players just driving by her like she's a statue. There was that time late in the game where the ball goes on the floor and she didn't even have to go down. She could have easily bent over to pick it up, but her effort was so lacking that Tammy Bentley from far away comes plowing in there and diving on the court to get onto that ball. It ends up being a jump ball. The Valkyries get the jump ball. There's an absolutely ridiculously terrible call against Sophie Cunningham that Stephanie White does not challenge because she is a trash coach. And then the Valkyries get a three-pointer out of it. Deep breath. Okay, so White should have been fired before the game was over. That's how bad it was. Like I said, Howard's got to be traded or cut. This was terrible. White is nothing more than coach talks a lot. She hasn't shown me anything. Like I kept saying when I was cautiously optimistic, she doesn't have a resume that backs up her rhetoric. She simply doesn't. She sustained success in the very brief time she was in Indiana from a good team. She sustained success for a very brief time in Connecticut, inheriting a good team. She was terrible for her 6 years at Vanderbilt when so many players left. Before players were just leaving, in droves like they do now. Oh, good time. But look, if Stephanie White stays around, here's what you're going to see. Caitlin Clark is going to become a basically an average role player in the WNBA. That is what Caitlin Clark is going to be as long as Stephanie White stays, as long as they don't have any accountability with their players who clearly look like they were trying to show everyone that, hey, we're better without Caitlin Clark. So, we're not even going to really try today. So we're going to look terrible. And then, of course, we'll blame Caitlin Clark for that. Well, the players won't need to blame Caitlin Clark because they know that the WNBA media will do it for them. Angel Reese. Wait, what? Who? What? Wait, hold on, CDS. Angel Reese. How are you getting Angel Reese in this? Because here's what I noticed about Angel Reese lately, because it's one of the things we talked about so often with her me bounds trademark. Angel Reese gets rebounds and just keeps going up and keeps going up. Right, there was that one sequence where she was blocked like 5 times. We're like, oh, pass it out. You've got people wide open. She's been doing a little more of that lately. You know who doesn't do that? Natasha Trash Howard. Natasha Trash Howard doesn't do that. Angel Reese recognizes the pass out better than Natasha Trash Howard does. All praise to Angel Reese. I was going to say two separate 9-0 runs by the Valkyries, but I think the late 9-0 run became a 15-0 run when you go with the second quarter and the third quarter combined. Can we stop saying Stephanie White is some defensive mastermind? Yeah, we can look at the stats for the season and talk about it. It's good, but look, it's a WNBA, okay? I get it. Even trash teams look good at times. This is not a good basketball team right now. There was no good offensive design for this team. Again, the only time it looked good was when Caitlin Clark got the rebounds herself and she ran because you know what? Stephanie White can't stop that. If someone else gets the rebound, they can be under the command from Stephanie White to hold the ball, to give the ball to Ari McDonald, to give the ball to Kelsey Mitchell. But when Caitlin Clark gets the rebound, the only one who's going to stop Caitlin Clark is Caitlin Clark. And Caitlin Clark's instincts, her entire life, tell her when she gets a rebound to go. And that is how they built an early 9-0 lead. No one else should be bringing up the ball up the court. Period. They just shouldn't. And this is not even a diss on Ari McDonald, but Caitlin Clark's vision in transition. We talk about the logo threes, and I get it, but her vision in transition, and of course, the skill to execute that vision, you have to have both, right? But it starts with the vision in transition, is unparalleled. Truly, I put it up there with forget the WNBA because she's in a completely different universe. But I put it up there with the best in the NBA in terms of their vision and transition. People like Steve Nash, John Stockton, Magic freaking Johnson. That's where Caitlin Clark is. Forget the WNBA. They have nothing to compare to Caitlin Clark. But we built that 9-0 lead with Caitlin Clark getting rebounds and getting out in transition. And Steph White said, whoa, whoa, whoa. This looks good. Caitlin Clark looks good. We cannot have that. So we are going to give the ball to Ari McDonald. And now the team is going to look lethargic. They're going to look when this slow half-court offense, in which the players don't even look like they have any idea what's going on. And by the way, I don't want to hear they have to learn to gel. We heard all that nonsense because guess what? They looked terrible when Caitlin Clark was out. Because here's the wild thing. Obviously, Caitlin Clark played less than she normally would, which I understand. She's been out quite a while. And even in this blowout 19-point loss, Caitlin Clark was a -7. All right. So this isn't even about, oh, well, it's when Caitlin Clark was in there. No. This team looked terrible when Caitlin Clark wasn't in there. They looked terrible with that offense. Stephanie White has the generational player. And she thinks the best thing to do is to take the ball out of her hands, to stop running, to do this weird slow down offense, to put her off the ball, to have her setting a lot of screens. Let's take Caitlin Clark, who has multiple times missed, 5 games each time? Correct me if I'm wrong on that. So let's take that player. Forget the fact that she's generational and why she needs the ball in her hands and all of that. Let's just take our best player who's missed 5 games twice this season so far, and let's have her in a physical league setting off the ball screens all the time. That's an intelligent coach, folks. No, that's a fireable offense. Stephanie White makes Christy Sides look like a Hall of Famer. Seriously, something has to be wrong with Stephanie White. This has to be personal in diminishing Caitlin Clark and the reason I say that, oh, well, that's tinfoil hat stuff. It is, you're right. But the only other explanation is that she's really that incompetent, yet somehow got the job. And that just terrifies me. Oh my goodness. I know Lisa Bluter would never do it. Now, I know a lot of people love to get on the Lisa Bluter coach thing. And look, I'm not going to be saying that for real because she wouldn't do it and I don't blame her. God bless Lisa Bluter. Enjoy your retirement. But I get all the calls for, oh, Lisa, got to get Lisa Bluter at Indiana. Like, I totally get that because no one connected to the WNBA is going to unleash Caitlin Clark. I think that's clear. Christy Sides did it probably closer than any coach Caitlin Clark will. However, with the All-Star game as well and Sandy, Indiana Fever, look, I get it. You think, oh, well, the fans are going to show up. We get all these fans. We can do whatever the hell they want because they're going to show up and support Caitlin Clark. Let's please be understanding, have an understanding here. Yes, you can core Caitlin Clark when she becomes a free agent. Oh, we'll see how the new CBA goes and if there are any differences in how that works. But she can also say, yeah, you can core me, but I'm not playing for you. Right? Players, we've seen that. We saw that this past season. Players do that. That's pretty common in the NBA. It's like, yeah, okay. Or in the NFL, right? Put the franchise tag on. It's like, okay, yeah, you can do that, but I'm not going to play for you. So I get you can core me by, so I don't leave without compensation, but I am leaving, whether you have to trade me or not. And if you continue down this path, Indiana Fever, Caitlin Clark will leave. And I promise you this. I promise you this. Her fans will leave with her. Now, you may end up with more than 4,000, 3,000, 4,000 fans at games after Caitlin Clark leaves, but I promise you it's not going to be 16, 17,000. Okay. You're not going to draw a million plus. You're not going to draw 2 million plus in games on TV unless you're playing Caitlin Clark in the New York Liberty. Oh my goodness. What, 9 points? 9 points in the second quarter, 10 in the fourth quarter. Well, you combine the second, third, and fourth quarter, you got 38 points. Didn't Christy Sides have some singular quarters that did higher than that? Correct me if I'm wrong. Didn't the Fever have at least one 40-point quarter last year? Didn't they hit that, or am I losing my mind? Am I just thinking they had a quarter that they got close and it looked like they would get it and they didn't? But if not, they've gotten close a few times last year of getting as many points in one quarter as this Indiana Fever team led by the esteemed Stephanie White was able to do in 3 quarters. 23 points in the first quarter, 61 for the game. Natasha Trash Howard was, in fact, trash. 2 rebounds, 2 turnovers, 4 points. Aaliyah Boston. Hey, Aaliyah Boston, can I give you a piece of advice? Nix the damn podcast. And look, I'm not even going to say this is a WNBA thing. I don't like this in general. Like Philly fans, Sixers fans, we trashed Paul George for this nonsense while he was in Philly this year. He came into Philly this year. He was an absolute disaster, played terrible when he was on the court, was injured a lot, and he's doing a podcast. No, no, Paul George. Ath- Active athletes, no podcast during the season. It's absurd. You want to call into the local radio shows, do like all that stuff that normal athletes do. Great. Having a podcast or being on a friend's podcast on a regular basis, absolutely not. AB, you should get your butt in the gym and start working on your game. And to that point, especially for defenders of Stephanie White, did you see a single pick and roll? Did we see the two-player game with Caitlin Clark and AB today? I did not see it. Did I miss it? Am I just blacking it out from the trauma? I don't recall seeing it. And to that point, I don't recall maybe Dantas. I think she only got a chance to set like one. And I don't even know if it was for Clark. Again, this is to me, this is coaching. Now, granted, it's also players. Ultimately, they have to do it. But it's also coaching because you're allowing it. Because we're now, what, 19 games into the season, and the Indiana Fever cannot set good picks. So that means as a coach, they don't respect you and they're ignoring you, or you are not making it a make or break issue, as in you start setting picks the way I want them, you start setting them properly, or you sit your butt on the bench and collect splinters. Clearly, that's not happening. Wow. 9 points in the second quarter, 10 in the fourth quarter. Hey, 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 you know when that 23 points happened? Oh, that's when Caitlin Clark was getting rebounds and running on her own. And she didn't shoot great, but you know what? She didn't have a whole lot of options for shooting great. I think she forced a few shots because again, there was no offensive system. Stephanie White has no idea how to run an offense that gets players open looks at all. Kelsey Mitchell, absolute trash. 3 of 13, right? Everyone wants to get on the way Caitlin Clark was shooting before she got hurt. Aaliyah Boston was 2 of 8. 2 of 8. Kelsey Mitchell was 3 of 13, 1 of 5 from three. Erin McDonald, 2 of 9, 1 of 7 from three. And by the way, one of the threes that she took, which was a little bit forced, she had Sophie Cunningham wide open. As a point guard, you make that pass. But no, she took it instead, and it was a brick. 1 of 7 from three. Aaliyah Boston was minus 25. Eric McDonald was minus 20. Oh, I'm sorry. That's right. Sid Colson played in garbage time. My fault. So she got 2 minutes. Uh, yeah, absolutely terrible. Terrible. I'm trying to, other than the fact that Caitlin Clark was back, Caitlin Clark even tried to get him pumped up in the third, right, where they got those 19 points. She had 2 steals in, I think, back-to-back possessions. The Valkyries. Let's talk about defense for a second. The Valkyries, 12 of 32 from three. 12 of 32 from three. And they shot a lot of them wide, wide open. The only reason it was that bad is because um, I always mess up her name. Light, does she pronounce it Light? Carla Light? I think that's how she pronounces it, right? She was 0 of 5 from three. And, Salome was 0 of 3. But Burton, 5 of 6. Thornton, 4 of 10. It's just terrible, terrible defense all the way around. These were wide open looks. So don't tell me about Stephanie White's fantastic defense. White has made an absolute mess of this team. She is disingenuous at best in her press conferences. She tells you the things she thinks you want to hear, so you support her, but her actions in games do not go with what she says. How often are we hearing about we got to get Caitlin Clark more open looks? Did Caitlin Clark get an open look? I mean, other than when Caitlin Clark tried to get her own shot, did you see a play designed that you said that is designed by the coach? That's just not the flow of the offense and players making decisions. A play designed by Stephanie White to get Caitlin Clark an open look. I didn't see any. None, folks. I didn't see any. And look, I get it, right? Teams are going to have bad games. They're going to miss shots. We saw that with Caitlin Clark. But this was the entire team. And again, the coach didn't have them prepared, and I didn't see anything from the coach. Again, effort, I get it. You'll have players that don't make it, but that's the coach's job to make those things happen. Like I said about the picks, we're 19 games in. They still don't set even average picks. So the coach is allowing that. The coach is not setting an example and leading us saying, this is the standard for our picks. If you don't meet it, you are going to sit next to me and watch the game. That's clearly not happening. All of these players, when they're setting picks for Caitlin Clark, they're interested in slipping off the pick and getting open so they can shoot the basketball. They have no interest in getting Caitlin Clark open. None. Wow. So yeah, they shot poorly, but the offensive system was terrible. No one wants to set a screen. I don't even know why they have Kelsey Mitchell setting screens for Caitlin Clark, and that's no shade on Kelsey Mitchell. It's just, come on. What's Kelsey Mitchell? 5'7", 5'8"? Get no AB Caitlin Clark two-person game. I didn't see any of that. The only good thing about this game was early on when Caitlin Clark was getting rebounds herself and she was running. That was that. You had a nice little drive for the midi. You had the step back three, and we thought, okay, things are going because it was up tempo. Well, obviously, as we saw as the game progressed, it was up tempo because Caitlin Clark was getting rebounds and running. And that was the only reason that it was up tempo. Deep breath. Well, that was kind of fun. I enjoyed that. Oh, good times, good times. Now what and this is what's great about sports. They go out and play phenomenal basketball next game, and I will be here the first one singing their praises. I'm determined to bring all the new fans into normal fandom. Yes, we are going to go crazy when you see a performance like this. We're going to call for the coach to be fired. We're going to trash the players, and then we will be the first ones to cheer loudly for them when things go well. That's what we do. The only thing is, a lot of that was just having that. It was it was fun to vent. But last thing I will leave you with is there's a lot of underlying truth, right? Like I really am concerned with how Stephanie White is coaching this team. I'm concerned with the role she expects from Caitlin Clark. I'm concerned with the fact that the picks are terrible by the entire team. I'm concerned with the slow offense. I'm concerned with starting Ari McDonald and Caitlin Clark together. I'm still concerned with how Natasha Howard plays when Caitlin Clark is playing. I am concerned that AB is focused on a podcast. Those are all legit. You can't tell me there was anything in that offensive or defensive scheme today that has you go, oh, well, yeah, those are great. It was just an off day. But anyway, let me know your thoughts on all this in the comments below. As always, appreciate you so much for checking out this video. I was just ranting and raving, so I might just throw up some highlight stuff that has nothing to do with this game, or I don't know. We'll see. Smash the like button, subscribe to the channel. Thank you so much for being here. I do appreciate it. Go have the day you deserve if you can, and I will talk to you later.